action from the Old Mutual Sunshine Coast Triathlon, proudly brought to you by Old Mutual, Bannerati's, Castle Light and Coastal Hire. Welcome to the heart of the Sunshine Coast. We are in Buffalo City, East London, on the eastern coast of Southern Africa, a holiday destination of note with some of the most majestic coastline that you'll see anywhere in South Africa. It stretches on for miles. It's a welcome holiday destination 24/7 with great weather, and that's what makes Buffalo City one of the most attractive sporting destinations in South Africa for all types of sport, including triathlon. Every year the city hosts the country's premier triathlon events right here in Buffalo City. It also hosts the Old Mutual Sunshine Coast Triathlon, one of the longest running triathlon events in the Eastern Cape. It draws quite a crowd every year, caters for everybody from amateurs to professionals. Early morning, a hive of activity at the Orient Beach in East London. Everybody getting ready for the pre-race scrutiny. Marshals on hand to ensure that the competitors have got all the correct safety gear and all the correct kit. Helmets, of course, compulsory to be worn in all triathlon events. The attention then shifts to the transition area, or the preparation of the transition area. One of the most important parts of a triathlon. The quicker you can get through transition, the more time you save. We went out and spoke to some of the competitors taking part in this year's event about the conditions.
I think it's going to be a good event. The forecast is pretty good. Sea conditions are looking good, so looking forward to a nice swim, and it's going to be great. A lot of guys have done the Ironman recently, so it's going to be a good race.
Oh, fantastic. We couldn't have hoped for better conditions. Looks like it might drizzle a bit. Yeah, no, great, nice and cool.
Craig Arlers is a favourite to take this year's Olympic distance event.
Yeah, I do. You know, I'm not the strongest swimmer, so when it's flat, I love that. I can try and hang on a little bit more to the front bunch. It's a little bit easier to stay close to the front guys. The swim isn't my strength, so I just try and stay as close as possible, and then when we get out on the bike, then we can start racing.
Cindy Schultz won the event last year. This time round, she's using it as a training base for the upcoming SA Triathlon Champs.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to SA Champs. It's here in East London, so we're home advantage. So yeah, it should be really good. The training's been going really well. I've got quite a few big races coming up. Next weekend I'm racing in Cape Town in the Africa Cup sprint race. So yeah, I've got quite a few races coming up, so I've been training hard for all of them.
A young lady that's got quite a future ahead of her in triathlon, of course. She took 4th place in last year's Triathlon Africa Champs in the elite category. So watch out for Cindy Schultz. Briefing being held at the Orient Beach before the athletes get ready to depart or tackle the first event. There would be, of course, 2 events that take place today. The first one will be the Olympic distance that sets off, and then just after that the sprint distance athletes get underway. And as the athletes make their way to the starting line, fairly flat conditions as far as the ocean is concerned this morning. It's going to be a pretty easy swim for the contestants out there. Although we do say easy swim, of course water temperatures this morning fairly chilly, as a lot of the athletes are wearing wetsuits. I think many of them were more worried about the water temperature than the actual swim, as the conditions are fairly flat out there. So the Olympic swimming gets underway as our swimmers leave, or should I say start, the 1.5 kilometer course. They'll be going out towards one of the main buoys and then turning left around the next one. You can see those flat conditions making it a lot easier. Craig Arlers said earlier on that the flat conditions will benefit him tremendously as this event gets underway. You can see the harbour wall in the background providing quite a bit of protection from swell for the swimmers. But look at this, at the front of the pack, it's young Vickers Saunders making a break early on as he pulls away from Nathan LaRue's, his nearest competitor. Just behind him, Craig Arlers still very, very close up there, but he's losing a bit of ground. Saunders pulling away at the front. I think he's trying to stretch this gap as much as he can on the first lap, trying to make the most of it. And he's going to be the first man out of the water as he makes his way now to the beachfront. They've got to do 2 laps of the course. This is Nathan LaRue in second place at the moment, just on 20 seconds behind. That gap growing steadily, bit by bit. So Vickers Saunders having an early impact on this event as he manages to pull clear. He takes a little bit of a stumble as he heads out to the beach run out, around the marker, and then back into the surf. Many triathletes don't like coming out of the water. They prefer to stay in the water once they're busy with the swim to finish the entire distance. But this does make the race a lot more interesting, and of course involves the spectators as well, as the rest of the field now make their way to the beach to finish off their first loop of 750 meters. Once they head back into the water, it's one more loop, and then it's going to be onto transition to get onto the bike. Cindy Schultz coming out of the water. There's Craig Arles just behind her with that green cap. We're going to see how they do. They're sticking together very, very closely. Now, although the water is pretty flat this morning, something that most swimmers will tell you, a huge difference to swimming out in the ocean and swimming in a pool. Of course, you've got those swells to contend with, and it might seem flat, but the eye doesn't show you. There's quite a bit of up and down movement of the water, so your breathing becomes critical, a lot more difficult to navigate. And of course it does tire you out as well as you're swimming with the current or against the current, so it's a little bit more tiring than swimming